now we go onto pit bike, 140s and moto teams. On pole position, we're going to read the grid as it's supposed to be, but I can tell you they won't all be out there. Richard Holmes-Williams is going to be on pole position from Jamie King. Bernie Hook and Ian Jackson row 2. Simon Clowes and Jason Pugh will be row 3. Then it will be Darren Anderson and Fraser Kinnaird. Jack Andrews and Greg Pym rounds out the top 10. Alistair Kinnaird and Kevin Gritton. Then it will be Daniel Gilbert and Daniel Lee. Roger Monks and Vince Bailey row 8. Adam Sweeney and Iona Glover row 9. Charlie Ems on row 10. It's worth noting that Daniel Lee, any results he gets will not be classified, so it's due to a mechanical thing on the bike, but he has to run a transponder anyway, but essentially his results don't really count for anything. But that is the grid, and as we can see, plenty of riders missing from the top 10, so this is going to open the door to be a very interesting race at the front.
Well indeed, Chris. I believe there's more riders on the grid than there was in race number 2 earlier on today when we only had 10. So Jamie King, who is your pit bike 140 champion, he will be leading from pole position for the final time in 2019. Your Moto Team champion, Simon Clowes, he doesn't need to risk it, so he's not going out today. But we still have plenty of Moto Team riders on the grid for the start of the last race of the season for the pit bike and Moto Teams. So as the series organiser Roger makes his way over towards the green flag to wave off the Pit Bike 140 Motor Team for the final time. The track conditions are still wet, but the rain has stopped, which is good to see. It means the track conditions will not get any worse, they'll only get better. Green flag drops and away they go. Jamie King gets an absolute flyer from the start of the grid. There's some bits of debris on the starting grid, not sure what that was. Hopefully it wasn't anyone's foot peg at the start of the race, but that's been left on the grid, so it should be picked up before they come round for the second time. But leading the way is Jamie King ahead of Ian Jackson on bike number 7. Ian Jackson is just ahead of the number 56 of Darren Anderson. Darren Anderson making a move up the inside in turn number 5, runs a little bit wide. Can Ian Jackson make a move, stick on the switchback? No, he can't, so in towards the right hand of the goal, flicking it back towards turn number 7. The left hander just behind them is the 144 of
Jack Andrews.
So Jack Andrews there, so the 114 of Jack Andrews in 4th spot. The race winner earlier on today after Jamie King fell off at turn 3, but Jamie King does lead away the series champion for 2019. So it's Jamie King ahead of Darren Anderson, Ian Jackson in 3rd ahead of Jack Andrews, Daniel Gilbert dropping down the field as Alistair Kinnaird moves up into 5th spot. As we have a move further down the field, that is the number 9 potentially of Daniel Gilbert making a move on the 260 of Greg Pym for some of the positions just outside the top 5.
Well, we have a breakaway out front, similar to what we had earlier in this race in the top 4, albeit this time we have Jamie King involved in that. He, of course, fell fairly early into the race last time, but no such problems for him so far. He leads the race at the front, and so far so good, as the rest of the field all fairly congested, or at least they were on the opening lap. It's quickly spreading itself out, as often happens in these conditions, but King comes across the line. He's 8 tenths to the good ahead of Anderson. Then it is Ian Jackson. Then Jack Andrews is in 4th place. 3 seconds between those 4 at the moment, so 2 leaders fairly close together. They're split by just under a second. 3rd and 4th split by exactly a second. Alistair Kinnaird is 5th. Gilbert is 6th place ahead of Pym, as Liam mentioned. Then it's Vince Bailey, Fraser Kinnaird, Iona Glover, Roger Monks and Adam Sweeney. That's how they sit in the early stages of this one. We're going to have 8 to go when they cross the line next time, and Jamie King will just be hoping to get round in one piece. If he can do that, he definitely has the pace to go on and win this one, with Holmes-Williams and Bernie Hook amongst those not taking part. So Jamie King knows that he should be ending his season with a win here, and that perhaps pressure forced him into a mistake earlier. There is a move. That is Jack Andrews down the inside of Ian Jackson. So a change for 3rd place there. Jack Andrews has been on fire so far today. Now he's up to 3rd. and has a gap of just over 2 seconds to try and chase down the top 2.
Yeah, the field seems to be spreading out ever so slightly, with Jamie King just extending his advantage over Darren Anderson to 1.1 seconds. It doesn't mean that he has this race wrapped up by any stretch of the imagination. It just means that he's making his life a little bit more comfortable as he stretches the lead over the number 56. Ian Jackson has dropped down to 4th now behind Jack Andrews with a great move in turn number 1, but further back there's great scrap going on between them. And now we've got riders down at turn number 5. We've got a couple of riders down in the Moto team. That was Fraser Kinnaird and Vince Bailey, I believe, after Vince Bailey tried to make a move up the inside of Fraser Kinnaird, lost it on the curbing outside the commentary box window. That's actually Greg Pym. The 260 of Greg Pym has been taken out by Vince Bailey, so disastrous stuff there. It was a great scrap going on for second place in the Moto team race between Greg Pym, Kinnaird and Vince Bailey, and unfortunately that's come to an abrupt end, but both riders are up and okay, and Vince Bailey is trying to get started once again. So the gap at the top of the field between Jamie King and Jack Anderson, Darren Anderson, has extended to 1.5 seconds. A new fastest lap of the race from Jamie King, a 53.7. So as he gets used to that new Pit Bike 140 that he had for this weekend, he's getting a little bit more comfortable and he's getting ever faster. So as I come across Starfinish line now, we will monitor that gap between the top 2. So that's Greg Pym is slowing after he got taken out by Vince Bailey. That last lap, so he'll be making his way back around to the pits. Another quick lap from Jamie King, 1.8 seconds ahead of Darren Anderson. Jack Andrews, unfortunately, is not making any inroads into Darren Anderson's second place, but is extending his lead over Ian Jackson in 4th. Daniel Gilbert is in 5th ahead of the first of the Moto teams. That's Alistair Kinnaird, and Fraser Kinnaird is a few seconds further behind Alistair Kinnaird in 6th and 7th, but 1st and 2nd in the Moto team class.
Well, Jamie King, as we said there, just under 2 seconds clear. Jack Andrews, like you said, is not closing in on the top 2, but we all know how easy it is for riders to go down and how often they are doing it in these races. I wouldn't want to wish anything against King or Anderson, but have they learnt from, as King learnt from his mistakes in the opening race of the day? He is coming round turn number 2 and into 3. There's just going to be 4 to go at the end of this one. 5 laps down, so I say 4 remaining at the end. So brilliant ride so far this from Jamie King, and his lead is now 2.4 seconds ahead of Darren Anderson. Jack Andrews 3rd, then it is Ian Jackson 4th. They really have spread themselves out, the top 4 there. There's 11 seconds between them. And then it is Daniel Gilbert, Alistair Kinnaird, Fraser Kinnaird. Iona Glover has actually just got past Roger Monks, and that is for 8th place. So a good move there. I think they're just coming out of turn 1. And then we have Vince Bailey, Greg Pym and Adam Sweeney. No sign of him so far in this race.
Iona Glover.
Mostly we're spread out, but as you're about to mention, I think Iona Glover doing a good job there to get past Roger Monks.
She is indeed. Iona Glover has been coming on strong in the last couple of rounds. Got a fantastic racing suit, a very retro looking racing suit. Something you might see Kenny Roberts Senior race back in the 1970s. But Iona Glover in these wet conditions really taking it like a duck to water ahead of Roger Monks, and well, in the Pit Bike 140 class, really showing how good she is indeed. But the battle for 7th and or 8th and 9th between Glover and Monks is definitely not over yet, with 4 laps remaining. They've got your race leader and champion Jamie King just behind them, coming to lap them. But with 3 laps remaining, Jamie King is on his way to wrapping up the title, and the only way he knows, he's already wrapped it up, but wrapping up in style with the final race win of the season. He usually runs number 76, but this weekend he's running 83, and the big number 1 on the back of his race suit just shows everyone that he is the champion of 2019, and rightly so. He's been on absolute fire all season long, and 2.5 laps remaining. Jamie King makes his way through the infield section. He has a lead over Darren Anderson of 3.7 seconds with only 2.5 laps remaining. Jack Andrews is a further 4.7 seconds behind Anderson, and Ian Jackson is 8.1 seconds further back. So it's a very strong outfield. Yesterday we did have 19 riders. Today we've only got 12 in this race, which is a couple more than what we had in race number 2 earlier on this morning. So turn at number 1 goes at Jamie King. 2 laps remaining for your champion. As long as the bike doesn't break down like what happened to Richard Holmes Williams yesterday in race number 1, and he doesn't fall off in the race, then Jamie King should be on his way to another race win in 2019.
Yep, just 1.5 laps to go for Jamie King, and after the problems earlier, he'll be very happy to come back today and fight back with a win. It's how he would have hoped to have ended season, in style, on the top step of the podium, and he's only 1 lap away from doing that. Darren Anderson still sitting in 2nd place, Jack Andrews 3rd. It's close for 4th. Ian Jackson and Daniel Gilbert are split by 1.5 tenths, so we'll monitor that gap. But the final lap of the year in the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team class begins, and Jamie King this will feel like a long lap, I'm sure, but he'll just want to get to that flag now and seal the title officially with a race win. Jamie King, well, he's had a fantastic season. He's been on the top step various times, and Jamie King is going to end where he started, on the top step of the podium. Round the 7th corner of the lap he comes. There's only 2 more corners to go, and Jamie King now is almost home and dry. Into turn 8 he goes, and the champion in the Pit Bike 140 class is going to end this one in style. He sits up, a big sigh of relief for him. He trickles round the final corner and takes the win. Take a bow. Jamie King ends with a win. 2nd place to Darren Anderson, 3rd to Jack Andrews. Are we going to be treated with some burnouts? I think we are. Jamie King on a different bike this weekend, and has crowned the bike with a win in the first weekend. The burnout for the rider alongside didn't go so well, Ian Jackson, but Daniel Gilbert will finish in 5th place, with Alasdair Kinnaird 6th, Fraser Kinnaird 7th. Then it will be Iona Glover 8th, Roger Monks 9th, Vince Bailey 10th, Greg Pym 11th, Adam Sweeney will be classified in 12th place. Fastest lap, pole position, win, and Jamie King was never challenged once the race got going. He wins from Darren Anderson and Jack Andrews.